Today we're making banana bread. I found this recipe on theperfectloaf.com. There's tons of good stuff on there if you're a sourdough starter enthusiast. There's a whole page of other things that you can do with your sourdough starter, other things that you can make with it that are not sourdough bread. So if you're constantly feeding your starter and you want to use it for something else like pancakes or waffles or a different kind of loaf of bread, there's tons of recipes on this website. It is great. I'll link it down below for you guys. Today I'm going to be using their banana bread recipe. I've never made it before, so I'm excited to see how it turns out. Let's go. The steps for making banana bread are super easy. You just mix up the ingredients and then put it into a bread pan and bake it. It makes it a great beginner's baker's recipe. So I'm going to start with 240 grams of all-purpose flour, 3 grams of baking soda, 3 grams of salt. Give the dry ingredients a mix. 1 whole stick of butter, 100 grams of brown sugar, and then cream the butter and sugar together, which means to mix them and aerate the butter. While I was mixing, I did have to stop the mixer every once in a while and get the chunks of butter out of the middle. That's totally okay, just be patient with it. Stop the mixer, get the chunks out, and then start it again. You want it to be homogeneous, not with huge chunks of butter in it. Then I add 2 eggs. And I was very brave here and I added it while the stand mixer was going, so if I got any shell in it, it would be pretty much so sad, too bad. And now we add the sourdough starter. I added mine to the honey and the oil and vanilla in a separate bowl and mixed them all together and then added them all to the stand mixer, which worked out really great, so I'd recommend doing that. So I'm adding 125 grams of sourdough starter, 42 grams of honey, 28 grams of olive oil, and 4 grams of vanilla extract. Looks so tasty. I didn't really stir them together in the little bowl. I just put them in there because the sourdough starter and the honey are very sticky and kind of hard to measure out. So I felt like putting them in a separate bowl would make it easier, and it did. And then I added my bananas. You can like pre-cut your bananas if you want to into smaller pieces. It depends on how soft they are. The bananas that I was using were very soft, so I just put them in the stand mixer and it broke them up just fine. Then we add the dry ingredients that we started with in the beginning, the flour and all that. I think the key here is to add the dry ingredients to the mixer slowly. Let it mix up, let it hydrate the flour, and then add a little bit more, and then let it mix up again. It worked out really well for me to kind of have patience at this point and just take it a little bit slower than I normally would. I also had to stop the mixer and scrape down the sides of the bowl a few times during this step. And then I added the rest of a small package of chopped walnuts, probably maybe a third of a cup. The recipe says you can add up to 125 grams if you'd like. And then we're just going to put it into a loaf pan and let it bake at 350. Haha! Did it! Just a little bit. Ooh, like it smells like banana pudding. Oh my gosh, this is like candy. It's so sweet. This is very interesting because it tastes more like sweet, like honey bread than banana. It has more of like an aftertaste of banana, and I don't taste like sourdough, like sour flavor at all. I mean, it's good, I like it, but it's just not what I was expecting, honestly. The recipe said to bake it at 350 for 55 minutes. The first time I make a recipe, I always start on the low end and then I leave it for longer if it needs to, because you never know. So I went with 55. And when I checked on it after 55 minutes, the top was really browned, but it was still very, very like unbaked on the inside. It was batter, basically. still. So I didn't want to burn the top, so I turned it down to 325 and left it for another 10 minutes and then checked on it, and it still needed longer. So I left it for another 5 minutes and then checked on it again, and it was okay. So I was like, well, I'll take it out now. It's baked all the way through, but the flavor is very interesting. It's like, it's a lot of honey. So I think if I made this again, I might cut the honey, because it's honey and brown sugar, and the bananas are really sweet. So it's very sugary. I also think I might add cinnamon. I personally love cinnamon in baked goods, and I think it would go really well in this. So I might make some alterations and then try this recipe again. Sometimes when you find a recipe, it's a good recipe, but for your taste, it needs to be tweaked just a little bit. So I think that's what I'm gonna do in the future. Like I said, it's not a bad recipe. It's really good bread. It's just not what I was expecting, and that's okay. If you like this video or you learned something, give it a like. If you'd like to learn more, subscribe to my channel. I upload every Friday. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.